for sitting, to stop breathing. This is something which requires willpower. To meditate for a very long time, it all requires willpower. So you cannot have enough willpower. So to do certain things which are particularly building willpower is very good. In samadhi also, you have to have the will to stay awake. Many times I have said, samadhi and sleep are very similar. Only in sleep you are asleep and in samadhi you are awake, but for the rest, you are completely inside, like in sleep. In sleep also you have no knowledge of what is happening around you. So many people, they go in samadhi and after 5 minutes they fall asleep. To have the willpower to continue, to have the willpower to hold the object of the meditation is not so easy. So that is why they do all these funny things. Then the next one is svadhyaya. Svadhyaya is more commonly known as self-study. Self-study meaning that you are studying the scriptures, that you are attending classes, that you are listening to teachers. But most of all, that you are studying yourself. You are observing yourself. You are observing your mind. Mindfulness. This is now very popular. This is actually belonging to this svadhyaya. Mindfulness is not really meditation. Watching your thoughts is not really meditation, it is a preparatory practice. So, essentially, it comes down to vichara, to ask the question, who am I? Where am I? What is this? And to watch the I, to sense the I, to feel the I. That is this practice. And this is a means of purifying the intellect. Intellect is a main obstacle in meditation. Not only the question, am I doing it right? So the question, should I do it like this? Should I do it like that? Does it all make sense? Is this true? All these things, they come in meditation. So, but then if your intellect is clear on all these things, if you have studied enough, then you can more easily drop all these questions. So, it is a way to permit also contact to the self. The ego, as I said, is made up of all kinds of stories. And the ego is the usurper king who has to be dethroned, who has to be removed. So, to know the truth, also on the mental level, also on the level of your intellectual understanding, even if that is still very limited, it is still important, so that you can answer the questions and that you can recognize the ego for what it is. And whenever it manifests itself, you can easily let it go. And then the last one is Ishvara Pranidhana. Surrender to the divine. This can take many forms. Usually it takes the form of bhakti. To do some kind of worship, practice of worship. Many possibilities are there. You can salute the sun, or you can worship Ganesha statue, whichever you like. We don't like so much here this aspect of religion, but it is very important to surrender to the divine, whichever way you want it. It's very important, but it's not very easy. To surrender to the divine means you accept whatever happens. You are leading your life, you are doing your yoga, you are making an effort, but whatever is the result of it, you surrender to the divine. You accept whatever comes. So this again sounds like very beautiful, leaving it all up to God, go sit in the passenger seat, all these things. but again very, very essential to develop deep meditation, because that is exactly in samadhi what you have to do. In samadhi you give up all control. In samadhi you are letting yourself go into the hands of the divine. So you have to practice that. If you never practice that, if you never kind of learn to bow down to the divine, to really accept that you are nothing, and that you only live by the grace of the divine, and that whatever happens only happens through the divine, then if you have never done that, if you never exercised it, how are you going to let go of control? Because you are still thinking that you need it. If you want to be able to let it go, you have to believe in something. I mean, that we are all free. But something of a belief, a surrender, a trust that there is something beyond must be there. So this is something to think about, something to work with, and something to exercise. So as I said, many, many things are there. It sometimes also happens with surrender to the teacher. This is also a common practice among sadhus. Then your yoga and whatever result comes of it is his problem. This is also making it a little easier. And it's also easier to let go in your deep meditation, knowing that that teacher is sitting there next to you and can help you whenever it is needed, and sometimes it is needed. Sometimes in deep meditation you encounter old fears, old anger, whatever, and you may come out screaming. Then you need some help. So to have a trusting environment, a place where you feel really at ease is also there, important. Very often this surrender is also related to the object of your meditation. Like say, if you are using Ganapati mantra, Ganesha mantra, then to do some practice also with Ganesha is important. Giving a flower, all these things that we find in Bhakti Yoga are important. Not just to create in yourself this surrender, but also to link yourself into the spiritual world. The physical world is not the only world. Beyond it is the spiritual world. There live beings that are not physical, that have more like an energy body, and that also have opinions, and that also have beliefs and preferences. So if you can align yourself with one of those groups, then they will help you in your deep meditation. Then you will get guidance from them also. That is all a little hard to believe, but I can only tell it how it is. That is also very important. So, with that we have covered in 5 typical niyamas from Patanjali. But as I said, there may be others also named, like practicing humbleness. This is also important. Like generosity, like vrat meaning fasting practices, fasting from this, fasting from that, not just food, also sleep, also maybe just sugar or speech, things like that we have talked about before. And definitely also jap. Jap meaning mantra meditation in life, not while sitting on the yoga mat, but wherever you are going, whatever you are doing, try to repeat the mantra. This is also a very common practice. So, I have said in the beginning, this is not such an easy path. This is not so easily done, and especially not if you have other responsibilities. If you can fully focus on it, I don't think it's even all that difficult to at least try to live according to these principles. But many of us have responsibilities and we can only try. And whatever yoga we are doing, it will definitely help us. But we can try maybe a little more, step by step. Maybe take one Yama and one Niyama and try to integrate those in our life, for starters. Like you could say, I will really try only to speak truth. I will really from now on try not to tell any stories, not to put any rose water on my own accomplishments. Just, see it as it is and tell it as it is. And maybe also I can integrate one niyama, like the study of the self and the scriptures and all these things in my life by saying, okay, in the morning I'll get up half an hour earlier, so at least half an hour I have for reading something which is inspirational, or writing about it, or thinking about it, or doing something like that. So in this way we can work, and we can slowly, even quite far, we can go by integrating these principles in our lives. And the result in terms of happiness, inner peace, and also deep meditation will be there. They are very essential. This is not about morality. This is not about becoming a good person or anything like this. This is about letting the divine do its work, allowing the divine to do its work, not blocking it. So, with this I think I am done. We still have some chocolates, and maybe there's some questions about this or anything.
Why am I doing this? And then it's difficult because you start in a certain loop. So.
Yeah, well, I think the main reason why people feel like, why am I doing this, is that they're feeling something like, oh, isn't this world there to be enjoyed? No? Why do I have to shut off the world? But as I explained, this is not the philosophy. This is a technique. This is just a temporary thing. For a while you shut down, all contact with the world, so that you can find the one inside. If you are not finding the one inside, you are not complete. Actually, if you have no much connection to the inside, then living this life is very dreadful. Because all the time you are crying, suffering. Only once you get this connection inside, then you can play outside like an innocent child and really have a lot of fun. So it's not about, going inside because outside is all very bad. No. It's about going inside because inside something's very good. Once you find that, then outside also becomes very good. So, but motivation, we are always motivated for something. Whether it is this or that or something else, doesn't matter, it's just a play. And whenever you feel more unhappy, you'll feel more motivated to find inside the source of your happiness rather than outside. So this is always a little bit going in cycles, like some period you will be more into meditation, and some period will be more going out in life and trying to live it, and then again maybe you get a little bit more into meditation. And these cycles actually tend to become longer. When you're still very young, then quite rapidly you change, like from one to the other. But the older you get, the longer these phases become. And then it's quite good if by the end of your life you are again more going into the path of meditation.
Because for me it seems more like the motivation is something the mind has came up with to give it a certain form. It's actually just something you do to come back to this thing. But the motivation is just a story to make it seem natural. But it's something that is just happening.
Many people still they come to yoga because they are not very happy. Then they learn some things and they become again happy. Then the motivation a little bit goes. It's natural. So then again they want to play. Let's play. And maybe 5 years later, 10 years later, again they come back. It's natural.
15 years and then what they are giving to the society by this work or by this tapasya.
Well, first of all you have to see that if you really go into that, then your understanding of yourself in the world already has evolved to a level where you are not seeing so much difference between yourself and the rest of the world. So they are not doing it just for their own enlightenment. At least most of them are not. They are going after something because they think it is important for the world. And truly, many sadhus, when they come out of that period of hard practice, they become very beneficial to society. Many have been social reformers, setting up all kinds of programs for the poor people, even in India, like for the emancipation of women and things like that. If you look at the lives of famous saints in India, then you will see that they have all done a lot of work for society. So, but that is not really the reason. No? The reason is that they believe that there is really no problem in society. There is only a problem in the ego. So, if they want to change that, if they want to make society better, so that people more care about each other and are less selfish and more care about the environment and more think about the future, in terms of the environment, so then they need to be able to reduce the ego in the world. Now, how can you do that if you have not first done it in yourself? It is only by that example that they can do it. So that is why they do it. And not just like for society, and not just for themselves. They just do it because they see that is the only solution. Because all problems in the world are created by the ego, by the idea of individuality, by not understanding the union that is yoga, by not feeling part of the group, by thinking, I am first. I always have to take care of number one first. This is the thinking that creates so many problems. So to stop that thinking, even if it requires 10 years of standing on one leg, is the objective. And then whatever is their talent, they can use to, again, influence others. Because the social works that they will be doing will not be the main thing. Through the social works, which are kind of karma yoga, they can interest many other people and bring them also to the point where they can a little bit let go of their selfishness and really become part of the whole. So they are working in a way for a better world, but with a different understanding than most people have. Because actually they will not feel that the world has such a big problem. Once you have experienced the peace of the self in deep meditation, then you may start thinking, why did I think there was ever such a big problem? You can even feel that all this effort that you have put into your meditation was in vain, because that which you were looking for is actually very simple. Is actually very apparent to everybody, only they don't see it. But it also can never be excluded from anybody or anything that is happening. It is always there. And so they look upon this society more as a kind of playground, a lila, and then they are playing their role in that. And their effect there will be good. You cannot imagine how important it is for just one village to have one person there who is doing regular deep meditation. That energy will radiate throughout the village, will really influence people in being more kind, in being less selfish, in being more smart also, having more intuition, more insight and all that. So a saint really does not have to do anything. To be very helpful and very essential to everybody within quite a big radius. Some saints you can sense them from 20 kilometers away. Some saints you can sense them from 50 kilometers away. They are really very strong. So, I hope that answers your question.